Today I'm going to be doing something a bit different. As many of you know, I'm a huge football fan, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are too. So today I'm going to compare each team in the AFC to an amusement park. If this video does well, then I'm going to do one for the NFC too. Just a disclaimer, these parks aren't ranked, so if some of them seems a little off, then it probably is. I predicted each of these teams' records, so I'll be going from the 16th seed to the 1st seed in the conference, so let's begin.
Quick slant, touchdown, Houston!
To me, this comparison is almost perfect. The Houston Texans aren't the worst team in the league, and Lake Compounce isn't the worst park in the US, but they're both close to it. Lake Compounce is one of my least favorite parks. The lineup isn't very good, only consisting of 5 coasters, and the operations are absolutely terrible, and the lines are always incredibly long. The Texans roster is one of the worst in the NFL. If you told me to name 10 players on the roster, I really couldn't. That being said, both the Texans and Lake Compounce have some redeeming factors. Lake Compounce has 2 great rides in Phobia and Boulder Dash, and they have really good food, and it's a somewhat nice atmosphere. The Texans have a great wide receiver in Brendan Cooks, the best sophomore quarterback in the league with Davis Mills, and a great rookie in Derek Stingray. Anyways, I have the Texans going 3-14. Let's move on to another team in the AFC South.
With time, throwing deep, has a man and he's got it!
From the people who have visited OWA, they say it's a really nice park. However, it only opened a few years ago, and it's difficult to put up there with the big chain parks. It's kind of like the same thing with the Jags. The Jags have a relatively young team with Trevor Lawrence, James Robinson, Travis Etienne, and the better Josh Allen. Just kidding. They also have drafted Trayvon Walker #1 overall, and I think he's going to be a stud. However, I think the team isn't experienced enough to compete in the loaded AFC conference. It's the same with OWA. It's just not developed enough yet. However, I do see both the Jaguars and OWA growing and doing well in the future. I have the Jags going 4-13 this year. Let's move on to the 14th seed.
Has a room, and he can walk right into the end zone for the touchdown.
This is a bit of an odd comparison, but hear me out. The Browns would be really good this year, but nobody knows how long Deshaun will be suspended because the NFL just can't make a decision on it. So this team is going to be hit or miss, and from what I've heard, not going to be hit or miss. So I've heard this park operations are bad, and the rides are closed for a good amount of time throughout the day. But some other people said that this is a top-tier Cedar Fair park, and Ghostrider is elite. So think of Ghostrider as Nick Chubb, park operations as Deshaun Watson, and Accelerator as Amari Cooper, and hang time as Denzel Ward. I have the Browns going 7-10 this year. Let's move on to the 13th seed.
Allen steps up. Allen hit from behind.
Lucan, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but I do not have your team doing very good this year. I like the Steelers, but I just don't see them having a good year. Ironically, the team and the park that share a city are pretty comparable. If I'm being honest, Kennywood does not look that good. Fitness Revenge looks pretty good, Seal Curtain looks good, and the rest of the rides are just fine. But I've heard the park operations are terrible, so that just ruins a park like it does for Lake Compounce. The Steelers have Najee Harris, who is good, TJ Watt, who's one of the best pass rushers in the league, one of the greatest head coaches of all time in Mike Tomlin, and wide receiver Deontay Johnson. But the rest of their squad looks middle of the road, and their quarterback situation does not look good at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they signed Cam Newton with their situation. I have Pittsburgh going 7-10, but I can see them doing a bit better because of Mike Tomlin. Let's move on to the 12th seed.
Still going, and he's in! Touchdown!
I love the Jets in Six Flags America, but I can't help but point out flaws in both. The Jets coaches are not very good, and Six Flags America's operations aren't good either. However, they do have some upsides. Batwing is an awesome ride and the best in the park, and Zach Wilson will go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time because of recent news, if you know what I'm referring to. In all seriousness, no, Zach Wilson is a pretty good quarterback, and they have a solid receiving core with Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State and Elijah Moore. Also, you can't forget their other 2 first-round picks this year, Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Johnson. Six Flags America has some aspects that are very good and some that are ugly, just like the Jets. I have the Jets going 7-10. Let's move on to 11. Another odd comparison, but hear me out. Everyone says that Glenwood Caverns was a pretty good park with Haunted Mine Drop, just like the Dolphins were a pretty good team last year with Jalen Waddle. But this year, the Glenwood Caverns added Defiance, which looks to be a great addition, and this year the Dolphins traded for my favorite football player, Tyreek Hill, who in my opinion is one of the best football players of all time. So this park will be on a lot of people's bucket list, and Miami is going to be harder to beat this year. Not much else to say here other than the Dolphins are going to go 8-9 this year because I don't think they can stack up to the rest of the AFC teams. Let's move on to number 10.
There is a block, and touchdown long pass.
The Patriots are a good team and Nobles is a good park. The Patriots don't really have any standout players anymore, but they do have good ones like Mac Jones, Matthew Judon, and Hunter Henry. In my opinion, Nobles does not have any elite coasters. Twister is really good and the best at the park. Phoenix is good but overrated. I don't know about Flying Turns because it was closed and Impulse was mid, but everything else about Nobles makes up for the average coaster collection. I love the old-fashioned atmosphere. So with no standouts, both of these managed to stay relevant in my rankings because of Nobles' atmosphere and the mastermind of head coach Bill Belichick. Patriots going to go 8-9 or 9-8 in the stacked AFC conference this season. Let's move on to number 9.
Denver back on top. 47.
As a somewhat biased Chiefs fan, the Broncos are going to be overrated this year, but still a pretty good team. SeaWorld was just okay up until 2020, but then they opened Texas Stingray, which looks to be a fantastic GCI. SeaWorld looks like a great park now. With the Broncos, they were an okay team last year, but their quarterback situation definitely wasn't stellar. But now they have Russell Wilson from the Seahawks. Russ is past his prime, so he won't lead this team to a Super Bowl appearance, but with Patrick Surtain and Justin Simmons on their defense, this is going to be a solid team for the next couple of years. So both the team and the park are good, and that's basically all I have to say. I have the Broncos going 10-7 this year. Let's move on to the AFC, which was one of my least favorite teams in the AFC.
Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry.
I don't think the Titans are going to find themselves in the playoffs this year. Derrick Henry is the best running back in the league. They have some good defensive studs, but the rest is just eh. Think of Derrick Henry as Mako, Kraken and Manta as their defense, and the rest of their team is as the non-existent rest of their coaster lineup. Icebreaker does not look that good, by the way. And I can't even name any other good rides there. Anyways, I think the Titans are going to be a good team, but with Ryan Tannehill under center, I don't know how they'll do, because in my opinion, Ryan Tannehill is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league. Both a good team and a good park, but I think people are overrating both of them. The Titans will go 10-7 this year. Let's enter the NFL playoffs.
Jamar Chase. He's got it. Chase to the end zone.
Let me get something straight here. I do not think that Cedar Point is the 7th best park in the country. However, I do believe that it's been a bit of a slump recently. The whole experience seems pay to win because I've heard the operations have been lackluster, making the fast lane essential. Also, Top Flow Dragster has been closed, so that definitely isn't good. I also think the Bengals will be in a slump this year, too, just because of the Super Bowl hangover. They will still be an amazing team, though. Joe Burrow, Chase, Mixon, and Higgins are definitely going to have this team in the playoffs, but the rest of the AFC improved their team so much it's hard to say that they're going to win the division. Cedar Point and the Bengals both have a great top 5, but I figured both will go downhill a little bit. Let's move on to the 6th seed.
Drake picked up the pressure all alone. Is Zay?
Dollywood has one outstanding ride in Lightning Rod, and the rest are just good to okay, kind of like the Raiders. Devontae Adams being the outstanding player, and the rest are nowhere near his level. You could think of Hunter Renfrow as Thunderhead and Derek Carr as Wild Eagle, and you can make a lot of fun with the comparisons. Not much else to say here other than they hate the Raiders, but I think they're going to go 12-5.
Good block by Parham. Going. They got him wide open. This is 6.
On paper, these are both basically perfect, but they both have one major problem. Carowinds' problem is the operations. The operations are pretty bad, and the Chargers' problem is literally the fact that they're the Chargers. They choke. They're literally the Los Angeles Chokers. That being said, the roster has improved a lot this year. The Chargers upgraded their defense with J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack, and they already have Justin Herbert and Joey Bosa. Carowinds has a great lineup with Fury, Intimidator, Copperhead, and Afterbird. These are both awesome, but their one problem is setting them back a bit. The Chargers will go 12-5 this year. Let's move on to the division winners.
Last time. Now he's taking a deep shot. Brown is down there, and he's got it. Oh, what a catch!
The winner of the AFC North will be the Baltimore Ravens, and I think that they compare to Six Flags Great Adventure. The Ravens have a really great roster, and Great Adventure has a great coaster collection. With Lamar, Marcus Peters, and Mark Andrews, they have a great top 3, as is Great Adventure with Kingda, El Toro, and Jersey Devil. Both have a great supporting cast, with the Ravens having Patrick Queen and J.K. Dobbins, and Great Adventure having Medusa and Nitro. The Ravens are going to go 11-6 this year. Let's move on to the AFC South winner.
Taylor showing the wheels, and Jonathan Taylor.
Same deal with the Ravens and Great Adventure here. Both are just all around great. The big 3 in Indy are Jonathan Taylor, Shaq Leonard, and Matt Ryan, and you can compare that top 3 to Goliath, Raging Bull, and Max Force. Both also have a great supporting cast like the prior comparison. I honestly think that Colts and the Ravens will be similar, and I think that Great Adventure and Great America are similar as well. The Colts are going to go 12-5 this year with a good receiving core, a great offensive line, and good defense. Let's move on to the king of the AFC West and my favorite team.
Slam down. Kansas City's got the ball. Touchdown.
The Super Bowl 57 champions, knock on wood, are the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're comparable to King's Dominion. King's Dominion has an amazing 1-2 punch in Intimidator 305 and Twisted Timbers. The Chiefs have a great 1-2 punch with the greatest quarterback of all time, Patrick Mahomes, and the greatest tight end of all time, Travis Kelce. Okay, I may be getting a little ahead of myself here, but you get the point. Both are looking all around great anyway. Like King's Dominion with Volcano, the Chiefs lost a weapon with Tyreek Hill. However, the Chiefs and King's Dominion brought in a bit of cushioning. King's Dominion got the awesome Jungle Expedition area, and the Chiefs got Juju, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and we had an amazing draft for what we got from the Tyreek Hill trade. That's all I gotta say for Kansas City. I think we're gonna go 13-4. Let's move on to the number 1 seed in the AFC, and who else would it be? It's the
Quick one, and they go deep. They've got a man. It is Davis.
See, Brady, I'm not that biased. It's only fitting that the perfect amusement park gets to compare with the basically perfect NFL team. The Bills have Josh Allen, the second best quarterback in the league, while Kings Allen has Diamondback, the second best coast I've ridden. You could say Stephon Diggs is like Ryan, Tre'Davious White is like Mystic Timbers, and so on. The Bills are going to do very well in 2022, and Kings Island will be the best park in the country for years to come. I think that they're going to go 14-3. So that's going to wrap up this video. Unfortunately, this video is only going to get approximately 2 views, so I just wasted my time. But for those of you who actually stuck around, I appreciate you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Go Chiefs.